Order in court. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the April 9th, 2025 Airport Advisory Board meeting. Item 1 called to order, roll call of the airport board. We've got Guts here. Larry, you're on the end. Jim, number. Ross, I'm here. Dale's here. Andrew White. And absent are Brian Cleary and
Well,
Phil?
Phil said he was gonna be on Zoom. I didn't know.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, if we have you do them on Zoom.
Nobody's on yet.
Okay. One more command on this for the second day. And I'd ask everybody, if you haven't silenced your cell phones yet, please do so. Item 2, pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Three, call for conflicts of interest. Anyone on the board have anything to work on? Okay. None. Moving on. Item 4, changes to the agenda. I don't have any. Item 5, first public comment. Anybody, we got kind of slim attendance tonight, anybody that cares to make any comments, would ask you to step forward so that we can get a good recording of you so that Carrie can do the minutes without too much difficulty. Hearing none, we'll move on. Item 6, approve minutes of the previous meeting. Somebody would like to introduce a motion for that?
I move we approve.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Item 7, staff reports. Tonight we won't have an update from Corey. She is still on vacation. Talked to Gaston about it. Not much has changed since last month. Everybody has notes from last month, so you can reference those if you want to refresh yourself. And item 7B, reports, updates from the airport director and staff.
Absolutely. So I have 2 items for you guys this evening. The first being the startup of the Taxiway Charlie extension project that will start on May 19th. So they'll start removing basically that preload dirt that's over there, grading in the new taxiway alignment, new service roads, relocating utilities. There will be one phase of the project where they're going to be correcting our approach lights to runway 6. So the Mauser is not supposed to be on the backside of the runway threshold light, so they're going to correct it, move it where it should be. That will involve a 14-day closure for 6 and 2-4. We don't have the exact date of that yet, but as soon as we have that, I'll disseminate that out to everyone as soon as possible. We'll still have 2 and 2-0 open during that time. Basically, it's 7 days to complete the work and then an additional 7 days for the concrete to cure. So they're actually using a quick cure concrete on Mauser T-bar. Typically, FAA concrete takes upwards of 30 days to cure, so it can be in service. We said we're not closing the runway for 30 days. So they were able to adjust the spec for us to, since it was such a small section. So, like I said, I'll get that information out to everybody. Everything else should be just glide slope, intermittently closed throughout the project if they're going to be working in the RSA. But for the most part, it'll be pulled back out of the way in that regard. And then the second item is our tower. We now have a signed contract with Advanced ATC, so we are in full motion now with those guys. Still looking at May 1st for a start date. We did do a 12-month contract for the first time, so they will not be coming. They will not be leaving in October this year. So very excited to have them here. That'll give us the tools to safely mitigate traffic here, to work some of the more sensitive zones and neighborhoods, and keep airplanes where they should be. And it'll be a really positive thing. So they're going to be back out in 2 weeks to have a interface meeting with all the businesses on the airport. So flight schools, light flight, those kind of operators. They'll build an action plan or a draft, and then we're actually going to have a pilot and user interface meeting similar to what we did last year. Big group meeting before the tower opens to get everyone's input and to kind of let everyone get on the same page. So what we're likely going to see is similar to starting a seasonal tower. So we'll have temporary assigned frequencies. The NOTAMs will read like it's a seasonal tower, but they are working on the paperwork to actually do the class Delta change. So through summer, we will switch to a Delta published as a full-time tower at airport. So we will be blue on the chart. All the plates will be updated. We'll actually have a Delta airspace ring around us. So it'll be a step in the right direction. With that, we also are getting an ATIS panel put in the tower. So the whole AWAS, now they'll be able to switch the AWAS off and you'll get the remarks through the tower like normal. So those mods will all come through the summer as we work through it, but still starting May 1st as the kind of seasonal temporary. But by the end of the working season, we will definitely be a published Delta. So we have the full support from the FAA in that regard, which is really going to streamline things. Other than that, just normal operations, just kind of getting everything started up. You'll probably see our guys out quite a bit, working on pavement maintenance, shoulder maintenance, filling in ruts and everything from winter time, getting everything sprayed and mowed, and normal ops. But other than that, I can answer any questions you guys might have.
Could you say something about the rules and standards? We talked about those.
Yes, so we're working on the final version of the red line. We had a committee about 8 months ago that was comprised of different members from the advisory board. We're going to re-meet with that committee to have them go over the final draft to make sure it was all encompassing of everything that we had talked about, and then we will present it to the advisory board for the official review. And then we'll probably have like a 30-day review period. That way everyone has a chance to take them, digest them, look at them, see the changes and everything. It's more of a reduction than anything. There's a lot of language in there that does not need to be in there. So, but that'll give everyone an opportunity to look at it. Then we'll bring it back for a final approval before we send it to the board for approval. But we're almost there.
I got a question.
Yes, yes, sir.
Did the citizens put the bid then, the staffing of the tower?
Yes.
And it was Tower Tech that was there last year? Correct?
Yep, Tower Tech was there last year. We went out, so it's a RFQ, so it's a request for qualifications with multiple sections they had to show us qualifications or bid on. One of them was the pricing of the tower. The other things were training and your ability to staff it, and can they do certain hours, the qualifications of the controllers themselves. Have they had any issues at other airports? There's a whole bunch of things that they were rated on. We actually received bids from Serco, from Midwest was going to bid on it. They didn't end up bidding on it. They didn't have enough personnel. They just said with the ATC shortage, we would love to bid on it. We just cannot guarantee we're going to have people here for you. Then Advanced ATC and Tower Tech all bid on it. So yeah, we definitely had some
It's good that it was weighted, I think.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how a new operator is. The first year Tower Tech was here, it seemed like they were lost. Like people would call in and they didn't know where people were based on the geography, and people are used to making radio calls. And so like the first year they were a little rough, but last year they were great.
And that's even, you'll see a big difference even from last year to this year. Last year, they still rotated, a 2-week crew. They would only be here for 2 weeks and they would send that crew home. Another crew would come from somewhere else. And it was kind of that 2-week learning period. You'd have that few days of the new guys landing on the ground, and then they would catch on again. But these guys are actually going to be living here, based here. So they're a full-time contractor. 2 of the guys that actually have applied through Advanced ATC already live here. One of them was Coeur d'Alene, one was living here in Hayden. So we already have local talent that is very familiar with the airport. And one of the marks that scored really highly for Advanced was they are the training academy for the FAA and for Serco and other companies. They actually have, similar to like flight safety, the sim bays, they have sim bays for towers. So they're actually working traffic for Coeur d'Alene as we speak. They have different guys running through right now, working different traffic loads. They've been interfacing with us like, hey, what are you seeing on this day, and they can adjust operations and get them familiar with this area. We're setting all the maps for like our local reporting points and stuff like that. So These guys, as far as the interface with the airport admin and ultimately with the users, has been over and above. They're ready to be here and do it right. So,
Sounds good.
yeah.
Is that the same company that does Spells Field?
No, Bellsfield is Serco.
Our request still in for an FAA approved tower?
Yes, so we're still going down that road in parallel with this. One thing that I've been kind of working on, and it actually was completely validated by the CEO of Advanced ATC. He was actually head of the contract tower program for the FAA for 20 years, and before he retired. So he said we are doing this perfectly. He's like, you're establishing a tower. Now you have a tower. Now you'll establish your airspace. Then you'll establish your permanent frequencies. You'll get your ATIS frequency. You'll do all these things that normally take the FAA years to accomplish. So over the next few years, we're essentially putting our package together to go back to the FTC and say, okay, we have a tower. We have all the frequencies. Now we just need people for our tower. And it's much easier to get their support in that.
So instead of 10 years, it'll only be 15?
Right, exactly. So no, we're on a perfect trajectory for where we want to end up.
Do you have any plans for a shout out around the region so that we don't have the Pete Former from Genesee inadvertently flying in and saying, I didn't know there was a tower?
Yeah, the FAA, Robert Tickner with FISDO in Spokane is actually going to help with that. He's going to do the fast notifications, one a week for the first couple months. That'll have our frequencies out there, what's changing. And then I believe he has a couple staff members that are going to physically go out to different airports, even like Hackney and Shreveport, and pound the pavement and get the word out there that what changes are taking place here.
All righty, anybody else?
Oh, that's great news.
So we can move on to the Coeur d'Alene Airport Association update.
Well, we had a meeting last night. We had two great speakers, Steve Soper. Gene Soper passed away right before we were going to get him to speak at our meeting, and Steve came in and gave an excellent presentation. And then we had our new AME Chet come in and give us a great presentation. Also think about safety at the airport and all the things that he kind of went over 2 log books. He says, I have 2 log books, and which is pretty interesting because he has one for his, for his actual flights, and then he has a log book for the flights that he doesn't take and why he didn't take them and what hazard there was that the reason he didn't take them. And it was pretty interesting the way he set that thing up and told us about it. But that was a great presentation last night. The other thing that we're working on is a viewing center over here up on the end of Ramsey Road here that comes through the airport gate there. We're going to have been working with Gaston on that, and basically it's going to be a covered shelter, and they have some excess materials that we can build the viewing stand with, and then it's all going to be done by the airport personnel, and so we won't have any expense to speak of. It's all going to be in-house pretty much, and we'll probably raise some funds for other things that we want to put on there. And then I've been working with Phil also, and so we're gonna try to get I think they're talking about having a speaker system in there so we can listen to all the traffic when we sit in the viewing center there. And it'll be all enclosed so that there'll be a fence around it, so the general public can pretty much come through. I'm sure you're gonna have a gate there so we can shut it off if we have to for.
Yeah, so the physical stand will technically be outside the airport perimeter fence. So we're gonna cut our fence in around it, so you'll be able to drive to the street side park and use it without having to go through any gates or anything like that. Yeah.
So, and then the speaker will be on a timer, so put the thing on and it'll chit chat all the traffic coming and going on the airport, so you can see everything, and it's a beautiful view on the end of the 6 and 2-4 and 2 and 2-0. So it's going to be a great place for a viewing center. Couldn't have come up with a better place. It's really a fantastic place. And then on May 24th, we're gonna have a pancake breakfast over at the museum over here, so that should be interesting. And then we're working on several other projects. We've got the scholarship program going. We have already presented one scholarship for one of our people that have come forward and for the kids. And then that's about, well, we're working on other things, but that's a gist of everything we have.
Your question, or just a comment, also in regards to Gene, I believe there's a memorial set up over at the
Yes.
hangar on,
It's Gene's, Steve Soper's hangar. It's gonna be on the 10th.
yeah, which is a Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I encourage anybody that knew Gene to, if you can, go over there. Gene was an unbelievable contributor to aviation and a lot of things in this town.
Yeah.
So,
And that was one of the presentations. He's an old time, I mean, he's been around, he's 94 years old when he passed away, and he did all kinds of things. He worked with the North Idaho College and started their first diesel program down there, and it was fantastic as far as, teaching kids.
Yep.
And I'm sure he had a huge influence on a lot of kids that we don't even know about.
Sat on his board for several years. from what I understand.
And he was on,
Yeah, before my time.
Yeah. So, that's all I have.
Harry, does the new doctor have an office established here yet?
Yes, he has an office downtown.
Okay.
And he gave us several cards. I don't happen to have one with me, but he left some cards there for us.
Do we have his information up front if people call down here
There's
looking
some
for
business
someone?
cards in there.
Larry, I'll send you his contact information.
Thanks.
Aaron, did you have any estimate on a time frame for that viewing stand, to when it might be?
Well, it's
started
up
and
to
completed?
Phil. I think he's probably want to do it today, but I think that, as soon as we can get him on that B7, he'll be out there.
Yeah, as soon as we finish up doctoring up some of the dirt around where the old Humane Society was, we're gonna move all the equipment up there and start pulling down that
Oh,
old.
so it'd be the summer then?
Yeah, well, yeah, we're gonna kind of work it in between our other projects. When the guys have time, they'll be able to pull off and get those blocks moved, stacked, and start filling it back up and building up the platform.
How far were we gonna move it down? West?
It's almost gonna be right at the run-up area for runway 24. It'll be right off the tip of that, kind of right
Oh,
off
okay.
of what would be Gulfstream Road up there. And
Yeah.
we'll build a parking lot just
Yeah.
to the east of that. So basically to keep it clear of if and when we extend November out, if we extend runway 20, it'll be clear of everything. So we don't have to move it again.
Could we put a windsock up there?
We probably could.
Okay, that's all I have.
Series of hand cards from 1 to 10 so they can rate landings. Okay. Anybody have any other questions for Harry? Thank you, sir. Move on to our only item of business, which Yasin and I darn near missed. Thank God that Kim reminded us that, hey, by the way, we have to review our annual fees review based on the CPI. I printed my copy out. I hope everybody has one of these. And I will let Jerry take over. Kim. Got two Ks here. K1 and K2.
I know, we have the same last initial too.
There we go.
So the first thing I wanted to bring up was, we'd like the board to consider, now that we have a signed contract for the tower, extending the tower support fee of $10 year round. We have it set up May 1 through October 31, so that the people that got to use the tower were impacted by the tower fee. And so now that we're gonna have it year round, we're not looking to change any of the max landing weights or anything, just we'd like to see it go to 12 months, if that works for you guys. Okay. So then on to the CPI. On your handout, the top of it just shows the chart, comes right from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, Class B and C, West. And I kept all the data in there. So basically the top just shows you what the annual CPI would be, and then the rolling average and what years those would be affected. So the calculation part's on the bottom part. So the 5-year moving average is 2020 through 24. The sum of that divided by 5, multiplied by 100, so that basically rounds up to 0.0433 as the weighted average CPI for the past 5 years. Okay. Next, I've got the land rent rates. Currently, we're at 0.251 for private, 0.314 for commercial, and 0.627 for non-aeronautical. And if you apply the CPI in full to that, that would make the new rates private 0.262, commercial ground 0.328, and non-aeronautical 0.654. Keeping in mind that the 2025 rates would be applied to anybody getting a new lease or going into their renewal option, or somebody that purchases, that would be a new ground lease as well. Okay, so development leases and ground leases. And then the 0.0433 CPI would be applied to anyone who had a lease rate review during this year. Okay. Those are the implications of those changes if you choose to
What was that last part?
recommend those.
The last part?
The last part, so every year, or every 5 years, leases are up for review.
Right.
So during that time, you take the land rent that you currently have, and we add in the CPI adjustment, and then that's your new land rent
Right.
for the next 5-year period.
Right.
Does that answer your question?
Oh, I thought you said it was, I thought you had other interests in there, but that's just the standard. You're applying this the standard way that you
Yes.
do to the people who came up this
Yes,
year, you're saying,
yes,
because this was their 5th year.
because it was their 5th year, correct.
So for example, if you're able with something different, being 5 years, 10 years ago, however long ago, when you sign a lease, you're escalating from that rate as opposed to right now you're established at the current full rate, which is publishing here. So there's gonna be some difference for most people's leases.
Yeah, especially people who had their lease for 20 years. I
Right.
mean, their rate's considerably lower, but then at least we're still applying
Yeah,
the
if you sign a
CPI.
lease at 10 cents 20 years ago, it will have escalated every 5 years, and it'll be something different than if you were just to apply the new lease rate for a new lease.
Yeah.
I didn't understand
I
that
like that.
tower fee. Who pays that tower fee?
So the tower fee is applied to landings that start at 8,000 pounds, and everybody that weighs over 8,000 pounds, that is not a based aircraft, military, or historic or antique. I apologize, it starts at 10,000 pounds, my bad, not 8,000 pounds. Yeah, so those are the people that are exempt, military, based aircraft, you own a hangar here, and historic aircraft.
And then we got a particular rate for the Forest Service. We do, it was $1.
$1 per 1,000 pounds, yeah.
We
In
voted that in last year to remain competitive, because Gaston had a meeting with the Forest Service, got told that congratulations, we had the highest landing fees that they paid in the country. They were seriously considering moving their operations out of here. So what do we base that on? Moses Lake, was it? Did they have that rate?
Yes, yeah, Moses Lake, I believe they were like $1.20 or something like that. So we went at an even dollar. We're the most competitive in the whole region for
The Forest Service very happy now, they want to move more stuff, so it seems to be worked out.
Essentially, the tower support fee, it's for the traveling people using the airport from out of town. It doesn't affect base tenants. Last year it was solely based on that 6-month operational period for the tower. Now the tower's going full 12 months. We just want to change the calendar where that's captured for a full 12 months now. The rate itself is not changing.
And how is that billed to them? Is it billed through the FBO when they get fuel or parking, or you mail it to them, the end number? Or?
It's billed with landing fees by Vector Plane Pass
Okay.
and it's mailed directly from them to the aircraft owner.
Third party billing.
I got a question. How will this, the money that you collect off of the landing fees, how is that gonna pay, how is that gonna look in relation to the money we pay to the tower to have those guys come in and do the tower? Is there a correlation there?
We definitely supplement more than what the fee captures. The fee is just a supplement for what the tower costs us. Yeah.
Do we have,
Definitely.
do we know what we collected on that last year in total?
I believe,
30 to 35,000.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So projecting it for 12 months, and mind you, it will be slower during the winter time. You definitely see an uptick in traffic. So
Mhm.
it's not gonna be drastically different, but it'll definitely cover. We budgeted last year $450,000 for the tower contractors. This contract has gone up to $579 for a full 12 months. So not bad for 12 months. They are really, really eager to be here and work here. So we're getting a fantastic value for these guys for a full 12 months. So that basically goes to supplement the differential there along with a few other things. So, and there's also Forest Service participation in that as well.
You and I talked about that last night, is what, 25,000 a month when they,
That's what we're going for, to include it in basically their land contract. The way the Forest Service money works is kind of interesting. It's all fire suppression funds, which only get turned on during fire season. So most of their contracts revolve around their 89-day contract period. Most of their contracts are about 3 months, so right at 90 days.
do we anticipate any impact on the Forest Service due to what's been going on in DC with
Nothing
budget
yet.
cutting?
I've been in contact with James over there almost every week, and they're looking pretty good. We're still going to have the normal base tankers here. IDL is looking very strong. We're actually going to have probably more aircraft based here with the fire bosses on our dedicated contract with the Type 1 helicopter based out of here. So we're going to have some good equipment sitting here for our fire suppression.
Any progress on the expansion of their physical facilities here?
Not yet. That's literally what they're working on as we speak, is what does the budget look like? What can they afford in the lease? How do they want to grow it? But they are to the point where they want to start negotiating the lease for the north side to secure the project. So that's a step in the right direction for their agency, definitely. Yeah.
All right, anybody else have any questions for Ken? Pretty straightforward.
One more for Gaston. The BOR, is it? Where's that at?
So the official letter that I received after waiting for months was, it was moved to March of 26, so next year for decommissioning. With that though, comes a development of a GPS departure procedure, because our departure procedure for Lane 2 is based off of the BOR. So in looking in our system with the FAA, we are on the schedule for a departure procedure update in early 2026. So it doesn't have much detail on whether that's what it is for, or but everything is shaping up to actually have it removed by middle of next year or so. So we'll see.
I just wanted to mention one more thing for benefit of the newer members of the board about this calculation. We did make the change last year, and Kim pointed out, we use rolling 5-year averages for each year. And then we add those up and create the newest average. And that was done to mitigate the volatility we've been having with all the inflation we've had in the last 4 years. It had gotten to the point where if you were a leaseholder, it was a lottery for you. as to whether you would hit a higher inflation or low inflation year. So we said it makes more sense to spread this out to smooth it out as much as possible. So that's why we use that 5-year rolling average for each year. So if we're done, I'm going to introduce a motion, make a motion that, number one, we approve the existing tower fees to go to 12 months a year basis from 6 months a year basis. And number two, approve the 2025 base increase as calculated by Ken.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Good job, Ken. Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty, that brings us to item B. As usual, if anybody on the board has input on agenda items for the next meeting, please have it to me by May 7th. If you have my email address, you can text my phone number. I haven't been getting any input from anybody here. And what I wanted to let everybody know is that if you have something you think that should be brought before the board, don't be bashful. Just go ahead and let me know. Gas and I will discuss it. It's worthwhile. We'll add it on the agenda. And
What if it's not worthwhile?
I doubt that anybody's going to come up with something that's not worthwhile. That's just my way of letting you know that we do filter things a little bit,
Oh,
but it would have to be pretty insane for me not to include it. Quite frankly, I get tired of trying to. Okay, we'll move on to the second edition of public comment. Anybody have any?
Can I ask a question? What are the tower hours?
It'll be 7 days a week from 9 AM to 6 PM.
Thank you.
The only thing that would change the 6 PM would be during fire season. If the tankers are still out fighting fire, they will remain open until all the tankers are back up in base.
That's it, then I'm gonna call this a meeting. We're adjourned.
Oh, good.